the premise of our book, why we wrote the book, was that we recognized that there was this disconnect between what people talked about in terms of inbound marketing and what they actually delivered in terms of customer experience. And Dan Tyler, my co-author, was a longtime HubSpot employee, and we were meeting in California at a trade show we were both speaking at, and we just started talking about our business and what we wanted to do. And I said that, and we've been doing inbound delivery for a while. So, real quick, how many partners people are here today? And versus end users, customers. Okay, we got a little bit of both. So we've been delivering inbound services for a long time, and I found myself consulting and working with business owners on all the other parts of their business that didn't really have anything to do with marketing, because the promise of inbound marketing, if you deliver your inbound marketing but your sales team screws it up, it falls apart. If your service team messes it up, it falls apart. And what we found as we dug into this was that your finance department has a role in this, and your legal department has a role, or your legal representation has a role in delivering a customer experience. And certainly if you deliver a tangible product, everybody that's involved with that tangible product, including the shipping department and everybody else, was involved with creating this customer experience. So we kind of had an aha moment and realized that the ideas behind inbound marketing needed to be applied throughout the entire organization in order to create an organization that could deliver a great customer experience. So that's kind of the premise of what the book is and what we want to talk about a little bit today. There will be a test today, so just be prepared. But I'm going to ask lots of questions, and I'd like to have a conversation, right? You don't want to have me stand here and lecture. But the premise of the book is, because the customer experience is so critical, how do organizations change the way they're structured and the way they think to be able to deliver a great customer experience? So we're here because of HubSpot user group, so we're all very familiar with the idea of inbound. So what is inbound to you? When you hear that word, what does that mean?
People reaching out to you.
Okay, attractive, being attractive. Right? What else?
Warm leads.
Good leads, okay. You're getting connected, you're going to make connections with companies. What else?
Providing great content.
Okay, content, sure.
Being found when someone's searching for you.
Exactly, right. That's the classic, right? HubSpot started their business on the idea of pushing back against interruptive marketing, and they talk about creating marketing people love, right? That's the foundation. That's where the tools came from. Anything else? What else do you think of when you think of inbound? Yes. Educating. That's a great one. Really good.
Connecting with people where they are.
Connecting with people where they are. Exactly. Very good.
Passive.
Pardon me?
Passive.
Passive. Interesting. Why do you say passive?
It's not like PPC where you have to pay. It's just you set it up and it works forever.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I agree with that. That word has different connotations, though, so that's why I ask. What else do you think of when you think of inbound?
Providing value.
Okay, definitely, value. So we realized, and we interviewed about 75 different people, and we talked to a lot of people within HubSpot. We also talked to a lot of people that were, like you, business owners. And we came up with kind of 4 key things that we recognized were kind of the core beliefs of inbound. And I think you hit them all. So I heard helping, educating, right? The idea of helping others first. You help people before you try to extract that or extract payment or get them to buy something. So you create value first, and then you extract value. It's kind of a big difference in the traditional marketing. I mean, I was just talking this morning with somebody about paid ads, and they were trying to argue with me that paid ads are kind of an interruptive type of marketing. And sure, so if you get a pop-up ad, yeah, it's kind of interruptive. But my argument was, there's a right way and a wrong way to do them. You can do paid ads in an inbound way. You can be helpful and educating with a paid ad. So it really has to do with your mindset behind creating that ad. Are you trying to create it so you can get something, or are you trying to create it so you can give something? So again, as we interviewed lots of people and we looked at what really was the core of inbound, the idea that helping others first is a core tenet and belief of inbound. My co-author Dan would actually say, help everyone is a core principle. The idea there is that you just put your help out to the world, and whoever gets it, whether it's competitors, doesn't matter, it doesn't even have to be your target audience, you're just going to help the world, and the right people will be attracted to you. So help's a big one. Focus beats bandwidth. If you're creating content, do you want to create general, broad content, or do you want to create targeted content? Kind of an easy one, right? What other areas would you focus on in your business in an inbound way to create focus versus a broad approach?
Selling strategy. What's a sales qualified lead?
Exactly, leads, persona work, right? So who you talk to. We were just talking about this earlier. Who has a defined buyer persona? How many do you have typically? One,
We're working on it.
2, 3. Okay, all right, but that's focus, right? Having a persona, going through the process of developing a persona is a focus point. And we found that focus is not just for your customers, but it has to do with all of your relationships. It could be in the type of person you want to recruit. It could be in the type of partners you want to work with. Certainly your customers. All of your relationships kind of follow this kind of principle from an inbound perspective. So B2H is moving towards human to human. And the idea there is that it's personalized. I didn't hear anybody say that word when it comes to inbound. But inbound, to a great extent, is about creating marketing that's personalized and being able to talk to that person one-on-one and share with them content and share with them something that's helpful one-on-one. So, and as we see tools, things like AI and all the different marketing tools that are coming out, kind of the promise of one-to-one marketing is getting closer and closer all the time. Who can give me some good examples of personalized marketing or personalized communications that you're doing right now? Anybody have good examples?
Targeted
Based on something you downloaded, that you reference something that you engaged with and shown an interest and offer something that's related to that.
Okay, so somebody downloads something, you now know something about their interest, and then you start to narrow down what you offer them in your for future communication.
Based on what they've been interested in.
Good, good.
You use smart content when sending an email, changing the content based on what they're interested in the past.
How do you segment that? What kind of things are you looking for?
Well, it depends on their browsing. I would do something like browsing history.
So look at the pages they view, things like that?
Pages they view.
Okay. What about regions? Anybody doing smart content by region or language or anything like that? That's what we're starting to do more about. Where I have a client where they're international, so we're trying to develop content in English that would be more applicable to the UK than the US, because there's definitely differences. Like spelling the word color, it's not the same, right? So if somebody in the UK is going to notice that if it's actually tailored to them. That's a little thing, but it's starting to personalize, right? Any other examples of good ideas of personalization?
Video.
Video. How do you do personalized video?
We literally create a video for every prospect.
Oh, you got to tell me more about that, Chad. Come on, I want to hear more about that. That's great.
So it's just a light bulb.
Okay.
It takes work, but it's not automated.
Did you do that for every prospect you have? You just told me how your leads are blowing up, right?
Yeah.
You're going to qualify them to a certain level, and you're going to give them the most qualified. Okay, great. So what's in that? What's in the video? What do you put in there?
We meet the group, talk about what they're going to be doing, look forward to working with you kind of thing.
So it's meet the team. These are really. How about the specific offerings what you're offering them? Do you talk specifically?
Sometimes, if it's appropriate.
Okay.
Sometimes it's more generalized.
I'm leading you somewhere, Chad.
Yeah.
How many of you, if your agencies, how many of you have kind of menu services, right? Good, better, best, slow, medium, fast. Who does that? Okay. I've never been a fan of that. That was like the whole rage for a long time. Lots of people were doing packages, and this is $5,000 what you get. I have no problem giving people a feel for what price points they might be at for services, but where I was leading you, Chad, was wouldn't it be cool if you had that video and it was like, and here's exactly, we're customizing our service to you, right? Because ultimately that's what people want. This human-to-human thing is I believe that there's something that's triggered in us when we're given what we think is kind of a standard package, right? It kind of violates that part of us that wants to be special and wants to be unique. So, and again, that's where marketing is going. So great example, Chad. Any other good examples of personalization? Yes, sir.
Something that we're working to implement, we haven't finished it yet, but personalized resource pages. So once we know what type of content they're looking at, or to where software that connects to other software, we know what connection we have to make, whether it's Oracle or Microsoft, whatever. All the content having to do with those connections all go on one page that they can pass around without having to fill out forms, additional forms, or anything like that. And the big step is making it easy for our sales team to quickly go, okay, this is going to Google. I want to put Google's name in specific documents.
What's your name?
James.
All right, give me your business card, you get a book. Great answer. I've seen this done with some of the clients I've worked with where this one client I'm thinking about in particular makes a laser, and they do certain things with this laser. They cut things and mark things. And they create these application pages, right, where they have all this custom programming, they have examples and videos. It's very tailored. And they keep making lots of new ones, right? They have hundreds of them. So what you're saying is when you get a prospect, you're going to send them to a page that looks and feels to them like it's been customized to the conversations that you've had with them leading up to that?
Exactly.
That's awesome. I think that's a great idea. Great example. So the last one was, this was an internal mantra at HubSpot. They always talk about solving for the customer. And this goes to their culture, and this goes to how they build their kind of inbound operating system and how they make decisions. And this is something they repeat a lot. And you've probably heard the story about Jeff Bezos, the Amazon guy. He says there's always an empty chair in the conference room, and that represents the customer for every meeting. Right? It's kind of the same idea. At HubSpot, they talk about solving for the customer. And the idea there is that when they're making decisions and they're back in their world, when the customer's out there and they're in here, they have to have some guiding principles that they use to help them make decisions. And believe me, having written a book, when I talked to Brian Halligan and I asked him to help us promote it, he's like, you got to talk to the blog people. So even he's not going to tell them what to do, right? He's going to make sure that the people that are writing their blog are still solving for their customer. So if I can help them solve for their customer, I have to convince them of that, then they'll run my blog post, right? So it was a very interesting conversation I had about that with them. And that really permeates everything they do. And I was really surprised to talk to their CFO and John Kelleher, their lead counsel. Not the people you would typically think to talk about inbound, but when I talked to them, they were talking about solving for the customer. So when they were talking about how they created legal policies or use policies or how they dealt with certain legal issues, their first thing in their mind was solving for the customer. I thought that was pretty unique. So there's actually a section in the book that talks about the back office, finance, IT, legal, and how they need to be inbound as well. Because again, think about my first question. You had a bad experience? Anybody had a bad experience with the legal team? Or how about finance? Getting something paid for, getting a bill taken care of? Isn't that the worst? Right? It's not value added. It's not helping you a bit. But so many companies stumble over these things. It was interesting on my drive over here. I was listening to an ad for a large mortgage company. Their entire ad was about the experience. They talked about the best experience, the easiest experience, the fastest experience to get a mortgage. Never said one thing about the percentages, never said one thing about the terms, nothing. The whole ad was about, you'll have a better experience with us. Because I think what they probably figured out was, I don't know, anybody buy a house recently?
No, but I know who you're talking about, and their closing costs are very high.
They did. Well, that's probably why it was Rocket Mortgage.
Rocket mortgage, right.
So, but I thought that their marketing was fascinating. All they talked about was experience. And it has to be because people have had such horrible experiences in the past. It has to be. That's the only reason you would do that. So the point is they're doing really well with higher closing costs. So that tells you something about customer experience. That tells you about how customers view that process, right? I want things to be simple. I want them to be easy. I personally am sick and tired of clicking okay terms and conditions, like 17 pages that I'm not reading, and I know it's like, oh, what did I get myself into? But I do it anyway. I mean, that's a terrible experience. That's a terrible experience. So let me ask another question. Do your customers have bad experiences? And if they did, would you know?
Sometimes.
Depends on how vocal they are.
Are they always vocal?
No.
So we actually had a situation where somebody left the company.
Yep.
And they were the only person with a log on to our software.
Oh.
So the next person got a log on and had no idea how to use it.
Did not use it.
And they didn't call us, they didn't do anything. I just happened to bump into them at a meeting. And that's how we figured it out. That's only because it happens. And so we made plans to fix that.
Something along the lines of 80% of dissatisfied customers won't ever tell you. They just leave. It's so easy to leave, they just go. And you don't really ever know, right? Because you don't ask, you're not surveying them, they just go. And the one for the book, we did a lot of research on service, and one of the stats that just blew me away was that over 80% of the people leave a service interaction. So this is when they've told you they have a problem and they've reached out to you. 80% of those people leave less happy, less satisfied than when they had the problem. So essentially, 80% of us we're making the service worse. We're making the experience worse when they call our service department. So anyway, so solving for the customer is an idea that has to go across your business. Everybody that's in your company, when they make decisions, it has to be with the idea that, are we solving for the customer? You have to solve for the business, right? You can't solve to the point where you put the business you go out of business, but your first thought has to be solved for that customer. So, Andy, let me know how we're doing on time.
It is 10:05.
Okay.
You're good.
Okay. The test is going to take a while. We do have a test, literally a test. So solving for the customer, there's customer, employee, and company. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but if the companies and the customer are being solved for at the expense of the employees, you end up with unhappy employees, which leads to what? Unhappy customers. If the company and the employee are solving for themselves and not taking care of the customer, that's an internal focus, and you end up with unhappy customers. And if the customer's employees are the focus, and I've actually seen this where employees are almost fighting the company to take care of customers, you end up with bad fit customers and low margin. So you've got to focus on the customer and all three. So the 4 key points for inbound. The 2 key processes we recognize, and I've talked a little bit about both of these, is that the idea behind persona development and journey mapping are 2 critical best practices for your entire organization. So not just applying them to marketing, but applying them certainly to sales, after sale, and even your recruiting process, or how you build partnerships, or your vendors. Understanding the types of companies that fit your persona and mapping out a journey of that process. I was fascinated when I talked to the folks at HubSpot about their recruiting process, and they showed me their map of how they bring on a new candidate, and it's extraordinarily detailed. And they, like, even the first day, who's gotten a new job first day on the job, right? What usually happens? You go in, you sit in an office, you wait, you stare at the wall, nobody knows what's going on, you're not supposed to be, not sure where you're supposed to be. It's not a great experience for your first day. You've committed to work at this place. It's not a great start. So HubSpot recognized that, and every moment of every day of that day for the employees mapped out, tracked, and then they're asking them, they're surveying them, doing NPS surveys of all their new employees through the process about onboarding. They do NPS surveys on their people they recruit as well, right? So they're gathering data the whole way through the process. But again, there's a journey, there's a persona. They're using these principles for all the relationships in their business. So we talked about customer experience. So do we agree with this quote? Customer experience is the new marketing. Why is that?
Because I think everybody in this room would agree that referrals are one of their strongest sources.
Sure.
If somebody has a bad experience, they will refer.
That's the classic, right? But think about, like, let's put it in the context of your employees even. Glassdoor, right? You want a bad Glassdoor rating? I mean, it can hurt you. Certainly, online ratings and reviews and word of mouth are all big, and that's just going to keep going. So there's nowhere to hide. You have to be transparent for sure about how you do things and who you do it with. And your customer experience, again, is what the marketing piece is. With the example I used of Rocket Mortgage, right? Their whole pitch was about their experience. It's a better experience. And again, if you're going to deal with customer experience, it has to be everybody's. Customer experience can't be just marketing or sales. It has to be everybody in the business. One of the companies we interviewed for the book is called Fat Merchant. They're over in Orlando. It's a relatively new company. They're a payment processing company. Anybody hear of it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great company. If you need a payment processor, check them out. And we started to interview them, and they kind of fascinated me because they, on their wall, it says the best damn experience. It's on their walls, right? Everybody can see it all the time. And they built the company, started it around the idea that payment processors were really stodgy and boring and old and difficult to work with and didn't really care about customers. It was complicated. So they built an online model, and they kind of built the entire business on the idea that this customer experience through this process was something that people would value. And what they found was that by driving the ideas, essentially of inbound for all their people, and they did that with their marketing people sit in every meeting in the company. So if the product team's meeting, there's a marketing person there. If they have a finance meeting, there's a marketing person there. And that was their way of bringing the ideas of inbound and marketing throughout their whole business. So one of our kind of founding beliefs of the book is that based on all the things kind of we just touched on, if you're going to be inbound or to do inbound in the future, you're going to have to be inbound. That it will be very difficult to just say to the marketing guys, go do some marketing, right? Go do some inbound marketing and we're going to be okay. People are going to see through that because if they're attracted to your content, if they find you and they start to move through the process, they're going to look for those other things. They're going to see how your sales team works. They're going to see how your production team delivers. They're going to get all that stuff. So we believe the future will belong to the companies that adopt the inbound methodology and the inbound ideas across their entire organization. Okay, so now is the test time. We're going to find out how inbound you are. So this is an experiment. So I want to get some feedback on the questions. So after we're done, if anybody would be happy to I would be happy to hear your feedback. What we have is I've got about there's 16 questions, and they relate to different areas of your business. And there's 5 choices for each one. So circle the one that you think most applies to your business, and then when you're done, at the bottom, total up the columns. So if you have, say, 5 ones, then put 5 in the box, and if you have 6 threes, then that's 18. Put that in the box, and then you'll see a score at the bottom. So okay, once we're done with that, I want to kind of go through our scores and see what you think. So you guys just pass these out. So like any add up all the ones and then give that a total. So if there's 5 ones, it's 5. Okay. If there's 7 twos, that's 14. If there's 6 threes, that's 18. That's a little math. I think that's too many questions anyway, so my math's off, but you get it. But a total score at the end, right? So if you were perfect, you would have, I think it's 16 questions times 5 is 80. I think if you were perfect. All right, so we have scores? All right. Anybody under 32? You get a book. You need a book. If you're under 32, you gotta have a book. So you get a book. Anybody over 60? I think you guys cheated. Blue leads, come on. No, I'm kidding. 70? Yeah, all right. Did you say you were over 60? 62. So Maria, you get a book too. Okay, so let me just go through a couple of questions. What about mission? That's the first one, right? Does anybody have a super defined, very customer focused, targeted mission? Anybody?
On the wall.
It's on the wall.
It ties into it, so our mission is tied to our core values and the way that we provide customer service.
Gotcha. Excellent. Anybody else want to share their mission? Anybody else know their mission? We got to know it, right?
Ours is everything we do is awesome, and if you don't like it, we'll fix it.
Nice, I like it.
It's very direct, yeah.
That is very direct. Does that everybody knows that? They recite that?
Everybody knows that.
So they know when something goes wrong,
Yep.
they don't have to think twice, they're going to fix it?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
So do I get a book?
I already gave away 3. I'm sorry. I gave away 3.
I'm gonna
Thank you.
We have a bunch coming.
Yes, there'll be plenty of us. How about culture? There's some culture questions in there. I didn't get into that, but that's a big part about the book and what we talk about. And obviously, if you're around HubSpot and you've seen their culture code, probably they make a big deal about it. And the connection is your culture is what you believe and how you act. And that's directly reflected in how you treat people and then how your people treat customers. So culture is huge. It's huge for attracting partners. We're all part of a culture. We want to be partners. We want to be in this kind of ecosystem. It's huge for attracting talent and employees, for sure. And increasingly, your culture is a big part of your brand. And the way your people act and how they make decisions and what they do oftentimes becomes, it is the perception of your brand. So your culture is huge. Any other questions stand out? Anything surprise you that I asked? So these are 3 super inboundy ideas. I made up a word, inboundy. I don't know. The ideas we're talking about really all start with a mindset shift. every one of the questions that was asked there to move from a 1 to a 5 is all of them are about changing the way you think. It's not necessarily about changing your process or changing your product, though those things are important. You have to have great products and you have to have great processes, but it all is going to start with your mindset. Helping is attractive. We talked at the beginning, the first thing we talked about with inbound was what? It's attractive, brings people to you. Helping is attractive. Being helpful as a person, being helpful as a company is extraordinarily attractive to your business. And then focus on success. By that I don't mean success winning. I mean success after you've won the business. I've heard a lot more people talk about differentiation between customer service and customer success. A lot of companies have customer success managers. Anybody have one of those? Excellent. And those are two different things, right? Service is a reaction. It's a reaction to a response. You're responding to a call, an email, text, somebody yelling and complaining. Whereas customer success should be a proactive thing where you're designing a process and understanding the journey and you're giving them value. You're basically applying those inbound principles all the way through that relationship. And then what you do is you create loops. You get them coming back. They come back for more. They buy more services. They add on. They give you referrals, right? So inbound organizations are going to extend the ideas of inbound from marketing to sales to service to success. Any other inbound ideas? Any more? Anybody think of any other ones since I asked that question at the beginning? We covered them all. Good. I have a couple questions I put here. If you guys have questions, happy to answer yours, or I can answer mine. Or we can just go have a drink. Any questions? Yes.
I think a struggle that we have is, we have our 62 year, and I think that we have a good sense of inbound, but the more difficult element is educating our clients to infuse inbound into every part of their team. We may have one point of contact or 3 points of contact, but in a large organization, they struggle to get buy-in. People struggle to understand why they're part of that ecosystem from every customer touch point.
Does that impact your ability to help them as an agency?
If we bring in a great lead and they fail to serve that lead well or close because of something in that process, it may reflect back poorly. It wasn't our fault, but they might say we weren't able to close this lead or it didn't turn out. But so then it becomes a little bit of a blame game instead of we could all focus on the problem of where was the breakdown and how can we solve it.
Well, one of Dan and I's hopes for this project was that we would help agencies with that problem. Mm-hmm. That we would help put the ideas of inbound marketing in the context of their whole business and the world they live in, and then they would be more open to adopting them in marketing and sales. So that was one of our goals. We wanted to help agencies and inbound people that already got it, or people that were in companies that were doing inbound that were maybe not getting support from senior management, or sales wasn't paying attention, or the service guys didn't care. This was to give them a tool to help with that as well. That was definitely part of our thinking when we did this, because I've been there. I've struggled with it. Right? They'll be like, well, our business isn't growing, and I'll be like, well, we got your leads right there. Your salespeople are dropping the ball, right? Mm-hmm. So that's very frustrating. So, but that's not an uncommon situation for sure.
Do you feel like the message in the book would apply to people who aren't in agencies? Like we could hand it to a client and
yes.
Here's your homework?
It's, who knows? So you got the Bluey's guys probably know this, but does anybody know who Walt is? Yeah. And Eric knows who Walt is. That's my business persona, and it's a business owner in the B2B space, technically oriented. I've got a 4-page description of Walt, right? I'm a Breaking Bad fan, so that's where it comes from. I even have a dog named Walter. True story. So when we were writing the book, that's who we wrote the book for. And that could be an agency owner, or it could be an end user. It's meant for the small to medium-sized business to try to put in the context of the changes that are happening and why the whole business has to react. So again, we believe it'll help with that question for sure. Excellent. Question?
I feel like it really makes sense to me from a marketing perspective, but how I would relate that to my sales team seems a little bit more convoluted.
Yep.
Like, could you give me just one example of something that would be an inbound strategy for a salesperson?
That's a good question. It's a really good one. I would ask, instead of telling them, I would ask them a question. I would say this: do you have a hard time getting prospects on the phone? Do you have a hard time connecting with ideal clients that you know you could do business with, but you can't build a relationship with them? They're going to say yes. What about your quotes and the ones you have out there? Do you have customers or prospects that just fall off the map and you don't know what's going on? You don't hear from them. They're going to say yes on this stuff. Then you can lead into, here's how we use content. You create some content for that persona, and now you'd use, instead of doing cold calls, you'd warm them up with connections on LinkedIn, sharing content. You'd maybe write articles, have your salespeople write articles so they get to be seen as thought leaders and experts in this, right? So you're just going to I would bring them in kind of slowly and get them to start and understand that this buyer has changed, and that the buyer that comes in through your website, through an inbound lead, has different expectations than the buyer that they may have gone on a cold call run 10 years ago and got a project started. They don't need that anymore. I have a client that had 8 outside salespeople and 4 inside salespeople when I started working with them 3 years ago. They've since flipped it around. They now only have 4 outside salespeople and they have 8 inside salespeople, because they've recognized that the customers don't want to see salespeople that just come in and hand a catalog to them, but they do want to talk to people that can solve the problems, that can help them. They want to talk to technical experts. They can. They don't want the pitch. They don't want the PowerPoint. They don't care. They'll go to your website and get it, right? But they want people that can help them solve their problems. So that would be my first advice. There's lots more there, but that's where I would start. Yeah.
Piggybacking off of that, are you using ABM, and how would you combine that with inbound?
I think account-based marketing is a natural with persona development.
Yeah.
It's if you're dealing with especially larger accounts, and most of my clients are larger, their customers are larger, so getting 20 new customers for them would be a huge win. They don't need 2,000 new customers, they need 10 good ones. So ABM to me is just another technique and another way to think. So inbound totally applies to it, right? I've done this with clients where we've created content that was very much like Chad's video, right? We were dealing with a food packaging supplier, and we did videos for like Walmart. It was for them. The marketing was tailored just to them. And they had large accounts like that. Coca-Cola, Budweiser were their accounts. So we created content that was super focused. Now we repurposed. We took lots of stuff that they had and repurposed it and built it. But it was, Budweiser factories, and it was logos, and it was, we got quotes from Budweiser people, right? We made it very tailored to them, so it became very personalized. So yes, I think it's exactly the same principles. And there's tools out there. There's some really good tools out there that help with ABM. They're meant to help get you in front of people, right? But once you identify the contacts in those companies and you want to get in front of them, what do you say? Well, those people still want personalized human-to-human interactions. They want you to be helpful. They want you to solve their problem, know their persona, know the buyer journey. Same thing. This all applies. Any questions? Well, thank you very much for having me today. I really appreciate it. And thanks for listening.